Now go back to the title. The words, concepts, reference and intentionality. Right? That means words and concepts and reference have the power of intent. We, in the last, or the three sessions last, we talked about the intent of the human level. And that too at the ordinary level to the complex to the mysterious to the magical levels of intent, potentiality for intent or intentionality available for human beings. Now we are talking about intentionality of words. Why little children are able to master a language so quickly is because of the intentionality easily attributed to words. Because of every word being introduced in a context where various intents are operating. I want food, I want to see my mother, I want pencil, I want shirt, I want my toy, see. This you might hear it as some very simple things which I am talking. But you can refer to the entire literature of linguistics or psycholinguistics or the immense number of research papers published about language development of children. Nobody has been able to identify this factor of intent operating behind the learning of every word. So the words get into the mental impression or the concept. The concept we have discussed before. Concept means a mental impression. The term concept or idea, both of them mean the meaning of these two words is more or less the same. Mental impression. So every word is capable of, every word develop the potentiality to develop the intentionality, because every word is induced or exposed or inducted into the child in appropriate context of intent or intentionality of the child working. Or a word would be mastered by a child only when it is getting engaged with the intentionality of the word vis-a-vis the intentionality of the child. Its body states, or its desires, or its requirements, or its conditions, or its emotions, or items that attract its attention in the environment, and so on and so forth. So, most of the words in the human context, like emotional words, or behavioral words, or expression words, or action words, or relationship words, they are all very directly connected with intentionality. I love you, I hate you, I don't like you, I don't love you, or when did you come, why don't you come, all these things have their words, and paragraphs and sentences and hours of words, they are all connected with the intentionality of human beings. Therefore it is easy to understand the intentionality. But even for the word pen, pencil, etc., even they have intentionality. Because the word pen is the name of that object having its own intentionality. Now objects have intentionality. For objects have the power of intent. Therefore it is called intentionality. It has intentionality only, but it may not have intent to operate it on its own. This objects having intentionality is not my theory. It was already a theory proposed by a great British philosopher by name Franz Brentano, F-R-A-N-Z, Brentano. Okay. So even objects have intentionality. Or objects are designed in such a way that human intents can be attached to that. Therefore the pencil appears to have the intentionality to write. If the pencil would do anything on its own, it would be writing. Because pencil is an inanimate object, the human hand will do the doing. But the design of the pencil is proposing that intent of it as a tool for writing, or as a tool to hit someone, or as a tool to put a hole in the paper or whatsoever. That intentionality for that pencil is possible by the design and structure and setting of the pencil. So is the intentionality of the chair, intentionality of the table, intentionality of the bicycle, intentionality of the room, intentionality of the window, intentionality of the door, intentionality of the plate, intentionality of the spoon and fork, intentionality of the ring or the wedding ring and so on and forth, intentionality of the of various colors and dresses and designs and settings and processes. Okay. I don't know whether you are really extending this basic principle that every word has its intentionality, or every word is associated with the intentionality of the human being who uses that. Do you see the repercussions? Do you see the consequences? I say I love you, the relationship changes. I say I hate you, the relationship changes. The communication between parents and children, the communication between man and woman, the communication between husband and wife, the communication between the teacher and the student, the doubtful communication of the father to the children, or the mother to the children. They are all based on intentionality. I don't think you will be able to do that. See? So thereby the intentionality of the child is affected. So reflect on this, identify where all human beings are using languages to induce their intentionality to other people, or to trigger certain intentionality within you or within the listener, and so on. And what is going on in the world? The political words, what is politics? Political ideology is nothing but the words of the intentionality of that political ideology, that political positioning, that political perspective. So the words of Marxism will be different from the words of capitalism. Because words carry the intentionality of that ideology or the attitude or the action plan of that particular group of people who hold on to that set of words. The Islamic words are different from the Christian words. I mean, the words in the Bible are different from the words in the Quran. Though both of them are apparently talking about the same central theme, the only one God. But that only one God is named by different words. Get the point? And see what is going on, for example, in certain part of the world today. In that part called what you call Israel and Gaza Strip, or that historical struggle between the Muslims and the Jews, just by the words and words and words only, because the words of Judaism are different from the words of Islam. And the intentionality is associated with objects and situations and stories and buildings and time, space, locations are also correspondingly set. That's all. Certain rituals are also connected, that's all, by the designers of those language, of those ideologies. That is all. So, every word is a concept. I mean, every word creates a mental impression, and every mental impression has its intentionality or intent. There is a well-known axiom in the Bible that in the beginning was the Word. It is utter erratic statement, absolute error. The beginning was the objects and situations and the things in the world. If they are really talking about the world, the physical world. If the words were to be the beginning, if in the beginning was the Word, there must have been something that uttered the word. So that is the beginning. That sounding thing. Even before the word there was sound and there was the sound generating entities. That was the beginning. And their intentionalities created the word of their requirement. See? But that was a strategy to establish the sanctity and the finality of the words in the Bible. To create intentionalities of that type. Or in the printed literature they say that God said, God told to them. So what do they think about the God? And the same text say God is indescribable, invisible, insensible. Then with what words, with what language the God spoke to anybody? See? But all these are never sensed by the millions of disciples and followers of those ideologies. Because they are all made victims of that words. Mind is full of words and words only. And especially that world of the modern time is projecting the concept of I think, therefore I am. Even the identity of an individual is proposed to be the kind of thoughts he or she has. Those who have Islamic thoughts, they belong to that particular group of human beings. For example, so words have been given such a finality. And a different set of words are used to create this different type of mental impressions. Mental impressions connected with emotions. In case of emotions of fear and fear of death and fear of punishment and whatever. See? How that intentionality driven by the fear of death or fear of punishment or fear of whatever, or life after death. All these are just induced, the intentionality is just by words and their meanings and their mental impressions only. This is of course for your understanding. The world, the 99% world just cannot tolerate these ideas. Even though definitely if they have any intelligence left, if they have any sensitive analytical reflection is left, they will all have to accept this fact that every word is nothing but the name of a mental impression. Beyond that, they just don't proceed. Beyond that, what that word refers to, what object or what situation or what time or what event or what episode or what person or what myth or whatsoever, what is given that word, what by that word what is named, that is never told. Okay? Rather, the third thing, the referent, what a word refers to. And even when they refers to meaning. If the word Allah refers to God, if the word Jehovah or Brahman refers to God, then that again is a name again. Of what? None of this is a matter of reflection for the great majority of even highly educated philosophers included. This is the fact, and this is the perspective of what I call a genius in self, because the self is a part of the universe, of the natural process. So genius meaning the one who knows, one who senses the truth about things. The satyam, the essence, the core referent reality. Now comes the referent reality. For that we have to take some simple example. What is the difference between referent and referent reality? Nothing very great. Every referent is the basics. Because whatever is named is the referent. Something or some aspect or some attribute or something is named by any word or every word in every language, in every ideology. A name of a thing or an entity or a phenomenon or a process or an aspect or an attribute or whatsoever. Take the dictionary and see, you just choose some 10 words and see what their meanings are and what their references are. REFERENT. Most of the time there is no connection. That is because of the tragedy of the intentionality of every word.
It's 22 hours.
It is as if the word is the truth than the thing named by the word, see? Okay, these are all matter of mystics perspective, but coming to so-called practical perspective, develop, train yourself, take 30, 40, 50 days to tune up your mind to develop the perspective to see the referent of every word or every idea. Idea meaning a sentence. This I have told you before. The meaning of the word concept and the meaning of the word idea are the same. That is mental impression. So concept is the mental impression of a single term or a doubled term that go together, and idea is the again the mental impression of a sentence or a meaningful set of sentences. Both are mental impressions only. And most mental impressions will have some connection with some primary intents of the person. Except maybe some newspaper report that you may chance to see, like some minister inaugurated a cooperative bank branch, or somebody opened a new shop, etc., etc. And every sentence, every dialogue from another person happens by certain intent. Otherwise, words cannot get connected. Get the point? The child, the little baby, is talking in kind of disconnected words. But the complete word connection, everything comes into quick formation within a gap of about 1 year, actually speaking, because of the intent or intentionality of the human organism, and the intentionality, as I told you before, associated with every word. So it starts with the primary words of connected with the food, hygiene, and the environment, and then the close relatives, and then the things and objects with which the child interacts, like A for apple. So the beginning is by connecting with the intent of the visible and the sensible objects and situations and figures and other aspects in the environment. Then it goes to the qualities or characteristics or characters attributed to those things in the environment, and work out your own perspective about how language develops in a human being. This is of ultimate importance because every one of us, including me, becomes a victim of the intentionality of the words more than the reality of the intent. We are more carried away by the languages than by the reference and the referent realities implied by the same language. So unless we master this differentiation between the language and the referent reality, we just cannot get to one thing. Never a self-discovery, actually coming across the double or the self or the enlightenment. Definitely not. When millions of people are earnestly trying for the so-called enlightenment or God realization or self-realization or whatever, they don't get it because they are all still trapped by the intentionalities of the words. And they are not able to access the referent and the referent realities implied by the same words. And take your time to see that. As I told you some time back, not only the Bible is a language, Quran is a language, Gita is a language, or any book is nothing but a language. And any subject is nothing but a language. Like Marxian philosophy has its language, physics has its language, chemistry has its language, medicine has its language, Ayurveda has its language, philosophy has its language, sociology has its language, management has its language, engineering has its language, geography has its language, history has its language. All those subject matters are nothing but languages and languages and languages only. The extent to which you are able to access the reference, at least the mental impressions, or definitely the reference and the realities of those reference, that will be the turning point of your evolution to a super genius individual, a super genius human being. We refer to the intent of Patanjali. We refer to the intent of the various myths. What was the power of intent of that man who made a symbolic one in the air so that the solid rocky mountain got divided into two? The intent of that human being walked through the intent of that action to the intent of that solid rock, by which the particles of that solid rock became dissipated. And that is definitely possible. And that's what is at least written in the book of Patanjali Yoga Sutra. But in order to do that, what we will do? It cannot be done by the support of words or languages. Because the intentionality of words is only within the boundary of languages and its meanings and its interpretations and the connections, that's all. Okay? It has created a separate world, a separate reality, actually speaking, which is far elusive than the real objective reality. Rather, as we always say, the word pencil is not the pencil. This thing does not know its name. It has no name. Like you, the human body has no name. No human body has a name other than we can roughly use the generic word human being. But with the support of the intentionalities of words and sentences or languages of ideologies, there are actually no human beings now in the world. There are Christians, there are Muslims, there are Jains, there are Jews, there are whatever, there are Hindus or Buddhists or whatever, or there are US citizens or the Westerners or the Easterners. All look at all those thousands and thousands of names with intentionalities which control the perspectives of people and end up in the most barbarous killings that are going on right now in many parts of the world, just driven by the intentionality of the language they happen to know. That is all. Never having any linkage with even a trace of the referent, the human body. And the reality of that referent. So referent and referent reality as a world of difference, This is the referent, for example. Of the word pencil, or the mental impression about a pencil. But this pencil has its own reality. So there is no other pencil like this pencil in the whole world of pencils. As we discussed in the parable of the one, there is no you like you in the entire story of humanity. But you are made one of the populations by languages of other people and your own internal language. For example, for one of the millions of examples. You cannot escape from that word created, words maintained identity of you to the identity of that marvelous human creature on this planet Earth with all its potentialities and possibilities. It was not Isaac Newton or Albert Einstein or Rabindranath Tagore sitting there and doing things. They were all in tune with their creatures, their entities, which only carried the analytical thinking and the reflective thinking and the so-called creativity and originality and genius and all are the properties of the realities of the referent, that is the you sitting there right now. In other words, even you are aware of only a part of your reference, first of all, and only a part of the reality of the you, the referent. What is the reality of the referent of the you? Okay? Million kind of original neurons in the brain and marvelous central nervous system, autonomic nervous system and the muscles and the energy field generated by all those things which can be anytime in tune with the energy field outside. This you know, but you are not able to do anything. Because by the time you start doing, the language enters and interferes, interfering with your direct perception. Because human beings are primarily pleasure principle driven, like Sigmund Freud said. So language is easy. It is easy to talk about anything. But it is unimaginably complex to get into the referent and especially the realities, the orbits of realities of the referent in case of human being or even in case of a pencil. It is the realities associated with it that makes it the most unique pencil in the whole world. So what are the realities of the you, the referent of the name, the referent of the word Parvati, the realities of that referent of that entity, the referent of the word Vinay, the realities of that referent, which has no name. No part of the body can have a language at all. Unless we are very crystal clear about this differentiation, this stark difference, absolute cut-off, there is absolutely no connection between the language and the referent realities. See? On the other hand, we are able to do this session because again now the facility called language. That is the power of intentionality happened to language because it is connected to the intentionality of the human reality. Like an emotion, love or hate, for example, I said. A whole lot of names or languages are associated with those emotions alone. And then see what is going on in this world. What do you think? What do you feel? When this is the fact, what is going on in the world now? How, with other words, they glorify history. There is a great lot of history about the Jew-Muslim conflict. They say 2000 plus years of so-called history. What is that? Yes, great lot of events and episodes happened. Why? Again driven by languages only. The divide between the so-called two groups of people again by languages and names attached to them based on intentionalities of the locations and the birth and whatsoever. See, I told you. Those references have their intentionalities and intents, okay? And with them the names got associated. So the name is symbolizing, the name is pretending, the name is working with the live intentionality of the human entities. So evidently, but we have only one question. How these marvelous human beings have been made a victim of languages, totally disregarding the direct truth experienced by the given live entity. The live human being just cannot feel a Muslim feeling, a Christian feeling, a Hindu feeling. Not possible. But they would think that it is possible because there are descriptions, there are languages associated. And those who have created those ideologies were such creative people, they got it linkaged with rituals and dress patterns and locations and stories and myths and time-space location, buildings and terrains of planet Earth. Where somebody was born or somebody was killed or some monument existed and so on and so forth. No use of talking about this. This we discuss only basically as an analytical discussion about the reality of the truth of human condition. So that in a future point of time you will all be seers and mystics. If you want to be a seer, if you want to see the truth of things, you must definitely get detached from all your languages, including the primary language about your social, personal, psychological identity, maintained by language. For example, in psychotherapy, if you put a human being under hypnotic sleep, you can easily tell him anything which will all be taken as fact. That's all. I put Parvati into hypnotic sleep and I tell her, after some time, actually your name is Mahalakshmi, you were born and brought up in California, and why don't you talk in Californian accent? After some time when you get up, after getting up, she will, with whatever vocalization possible for her, she will talk in Californian accent of English language. And if you question her further, she will be in great psychological confusion. She would say, I was born in Los Angeles because that's what I told her in hypnotic sleep. Where you were born? Oh, that I don't remember. What was the name of your father and mother? That I don't remember. Because that also I could have told her. So why I said this example is, that is all about the language that we carry. We are all hypnotized in a way. Every child is hypnotized, we can say. Otherwise, how can human beings be like this? For the last 5-6 days, I have been regularly watching what is going on in the Gaza Strip and around. Day before yesterday, Israel has given a proposal to the people in Gaza that they should all vacate Gaza in 24 hours. Of course, we are not discussing it in national terms or political terms, just referent reality. Look at the referent of that. When this president of or whatever prime minister of Israel said that was an idea driven by the intent of retaliation, let us simply speak so. Because in 24 hours it is physically impossible for the entire Gaza people to go out of that terrain. The referent of what he said is, in 24 hours, which includes dead midnight all included, okay, 1 million plus people, human beings with their children, with their women, with their elderly people, with varied physical capacities, they have to vacate their places and most of them do not have vehicles, or even with vehicles, how so many people will vacate that location in 24 hours? That is the referent he is talking about. He is not seeing, that he might be able to see. But look at the reality of that referent. Little babies, little children, young boys, young girls, adolescents, fathers and mothers and grandfathers and grandmothers. All these people, they have to take most of their things and pack them and decide what to take and what not to take. And to get out of their beloved house with a lot of intentionality linkages. And this is happening in the world of so-called, Tesla auto-driven bloody automobiles, satellites being sent to satellite stations, scientists are staying there, prediction of meteors' movements, okay, search for galaxies and black holes, so-called advanced human, whatever achievements of technologies and sciences. At this point of so-called high level of education, when the so-called American Harvards and Michigans and London business schools and all these big universities and professors and all these people are there, what are they doing? Well, these are all simply public speech which I am making. So I am just inviting your attention to that truth that language is never the truth. Language and the referent referred to by those language have no connection other than just intentionalities. Intentionalities tutored into the minds of children. Minds of children. All this education, all this training happened not to the adults, understand that. All the evils in the world have been driven to the children's mind only. Okay, by equally useless parents, that's a different story. Okay, our basic point is about genius choices in life. Our basic topic is genius in self. What is the referent? What is the reality of the referent of genius in self? In order to, we have to get into the reality. That's what we have been telling most of the time. Now I am using another angle, another because the attempt is to somehow by logical configuration of the same names we can defeat the power of the names. How the sword can be defeated by the sword itself. How the sword of language can be defeated only by the sword of language. That's what we are doing in this session. And in the context of genius in self, we have to defeat that sword of our internal dialogue. That maintains the ongoing you. Don't be scared about that. Don't be scared about that moment when you reach that moment when mind which is completely loaded with language becomes separated from the reality of the body that is still sitting there and doing it. Because that will be an experiential domain. Get the point? Till then it is the language. Using the language you are defeating the internal dialogue to get out of that trap of language, to go to that experiencing reality of that entity sitting there and doing it or lying down and doing it. So there will be a shift from the I think therefore I am, shift from the ongoing consciousness to a different mode of consciousness. Because the ongoing consciousness is 50-50 language only, or language is consciousness. Or language is all the time existing inside consciousness. So when you bypass, when you trespass into the world of referent of the body you, and the reality is that is experiential, that is experience, that is feeling. Then there could be a moment of apprehension, a kind of an anxiety. That's all. Don't get defeated by that anxiety. I say this assuming that some of you or all of you may once in a while or now or in the future will try this. Our trying about that is one of the core goals of genius himself. Because there lies the truth of the you. The truth of the you lies in your entity, which is not bound by language, which has nothing to do with language other than talking it and other than being conditioned, making the conditioned salivary response of feeling about language. Language-based feeling is almost like the conventional Pavlovian, Russian psychologist Pavlovian conditioning of saliva of the dogs. A bell sound followed by a piece of meat and the dog gets it. Repeat it 10 times, the bell sound, no meat, but the dog salivates. Same, identical is the state of human language and the connectivity of that language with the so-called human mind and its salivation in the form of emotions and so on and so forth, of internal conflict and or interpersonal conflicts or international conflicts or racial conflicts or religious conflicts. All these are nothing but salivation of the mind. Conditioned salivation. 100%. Let anybody in the world disprove what I said. This will be in the YouTube, so long as YouTube exists.
It's 22:30.
I challenge every God to dispute what I said now. I am very sure any God worth the name of God will not be able to utter even a sound. Except the so-called God in the human beings. Come to this level and defeat that internal dialogue. In fact, the topmost mystical perspective in the world, according to me, the Zen, they have discovered this much before, in the very beginning itself, that this mind's, mind's cancerous growth of language is the problem of the death of the individual, even before the entity dies. The demise of the great entity happens by this trap of language. They discovered it. So in order to get out of it, they devised, like I told you, a sword of language called Koans, K-O-A-N-S, in plural. Koan. That is the Japanese word. A koan is nothing but a kind of a verbal puzzle. A unique syntax of concepts which do not go together. A unique syntax where the referent and the referent realities do not match. The entire world of languages, whether it is the scientific language or religious language or political language, they are all created in such a logic where everything is linkage with everything else. Then only the intents will work. Including those defeating internal dialogues. Your internal dialogues are fully logical in beautiful syntax. Change the logic. That's in between point. Anyway, coming back to the Sen Koans, I told you. My definition of the Koan of Zen. I am sure nobody has defined the Sen Koans other than naming it as verbal puzzle, etc., etc. But I am making it clear to every one of you, 3 plus 3 plus 2 sitting there, that a koan is nothing but a syntax of words where the mental impressions, the reference and the referent realities do not match. They are of different domains, they are of different orbits of realities. For example, one of the topmost koans, there are only three major koans. Most of the time the number one koan, the most powerful koan is, in English language, listen. Listen to the sound of one hand clapping. So the word listen is clear. Do you have a mental impression about that word listen? The meaning of that words are maybe known to you, or you may have to refer to the dictionary. But what is the referent of the word listen? Okay? If this is the referent of the word pencil, what is the referent of the word listen? Okay. 2 and D. Even 2 and D have their intents, I-N-T-E-N-T-S. That's the essence of English language grammar. I am going to Coimbatore. If I am going to Coimbatore. I cannot say I am going by Coimbatore if I am going to Coimbatore. See? So the intentionality associated with the to, by, for, of, and so on. Jack is talking to Jill. Intentionality of to. The word to. T-O-2. So, listen to. Like going to. It is going to rain. To what? To the sound. That is almost easy. Because you have to do the doing of this Sen Koans. It is not to learn and interpret the Sen Koans. This is what I told in the beginning. You have to get out of the language, using the language, and go to the reality of experiencing or doing or feeling. There must be process happening. And we told you in the beginning, we decided that everything in the universe is nothing but a process. All reference are processes. Even this pencil is a process, is in process, is for a process. The particles are moving. It is alive. So that's a different story. Okay. Listen to the sound. Okay. Off. It has its intentionality. One. Again, the referent is clear. Hand, the referent is clear. Clapping, the referent is clear. But even in the referent dimension, even in the orbit of referent, one hand clapping is impossible. Because the reality of the referent of clapping requires two hands clapping. Clapping, not two hands just coming together. Just to come together in the same direction with a certain force. Then only there will be the sound of clapping. And your attention, whose attention? The attention of that human entity, that human being. Attention belongs to the human being. Attention is not the attention of a Christian human being or a Muslim human being or a Hindu human being or a Japanese human being or a Russian human being or an Israeli human being. Okay, that is the side point. That you have to be careful. You are using the attention of that creature, that entity, and that attention of listening to what? The sound of one hand clapping. That's why I said in the beginning that a chord is a kind of a syntax where the reference and the referent realities do not match. They cannot get correlated. That is impossible. Then why chords are given? What is the intent of a chord? If every word has an intent, if every word has a referent, if every word is the name of a referent, okay, a single word just cannot name referent realities, so of course. We can write 200 pages about the referent reality of this pencil. So there cannot be a single word for that. So what is the intent of the chord? Why these words? What the intent of these words will do in your mind? Mind only is processing words. Yeah. Yeah, come on.
Trigger some new process perspective.
Process perspective is again, it can be a feeling, a sensation, an experiential level or just an idea level. Which level you mean? Idea.
Idea.
Idea is of no use. This chord itself is a device to get out of idea. Because ideas are all unreal. Only reference and referent realities are real or truth.
It's all about feelings and sensing the concepts.
Yeah. Thereby you will be forced to extricate yourself from the tragedy of the trap of the language. If you insist and if you compel and if you go on pressurizing that internal engines to hear the sound of one hand clapping, then what I don't want to say. It is almost like you have to listen to, you have to hear an impossible sound. You will have to hear a soundless sound. What makes a soundless sound? Or what is the referent of the word sound? Vibration. So see the referent of vibration, something is moving. Tuck, 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 tuck. That is the referent of the word vibration. If two hands clap, there is a vibration of the air column which will vibrate the ear membrane called the tympanum, and then the three bones there that will strike each other, then that will be kind of translated and expanded by the fluids kept in the so-called semicircular canal. I suppose you know the structure of the anatomy of the ear. So the vibration is effectively translated into the vibration of the liquids contained in the semicircular canal, which will be picked up by the neuronal connections, the sixth nerve or eighth nerve or whatever nerve, and goes to the auditory cortex, and it is processed there, and something around that is sensing the so-called sound, or so-called sensing the so-called sound. And that soundless sound yeah, I have beautiful cigarettes, I forgot. Again I got India Kings, Sarah. Are you there?
Yes, Sundarji.
Yeah. It's a rare gift, so I'm using it with caution and economy. Are you wondering about what you were listening to? Are you wondering about something now?
Yes.
I am already in that wonder. Seeing that wonder, I just report. When I am talking to you, I am doing that and talking to you, or I am talking what I am doing right now. Is there any change in the referent appear to in the screen? But a lot of internal realities are out. I don't belong to the referent or the referent realities. Some vague presence of a sounding consciousness exists somewhere. So don't worry, that will always exist. I said don't worry again because I assume that you will do this one day. And I use the word don't worry because, as I mentioned some time back, when there is that inverted U curve, You go on focusing your attention on that puzzle or on that reality, so the referent of you, at one point of time, that entire thought-created, thought-maintained identity will shift to experiencing identity, which is beyond all words, which carry not a single word, mind you, not a single cell anywhere in your trillion cell body, whatever, does carry a name, does carry a sound, does carry anything. Got it? That's the truth. That is the truth of the process universe. Our attention is right now traveling at that level. Do you understand that? If you are sure that your attention is following what these implications or at least the meanings and concepts of these words, are you aware that you are at a different plane? Is that awareness making any separate feelings in you?
Yes.
But like I am sitting here and talking to you, the so-called existence of these entities in this socio-cultural, socio-economic, historical location will be there, like the tree is there. Then your consciousness will almost be like the consciousness of the tree. Then you will be aware, then you will feel that the entire universe is also a consciousness, something similar. I am using that word consciousness. Whatever that energy that maintains your current consciousness, a very similar energy is outside, every subatomic particle outside you too, beyond your skin too. And the only block to enter into that domain are nothing but the intentionality is created by the words about your identity, about the you sitting there and doing it. Anyway, that is there, that will be remaining there. When some of the well-known Zen monks have been reportedly meditated or so-called incubated upon or applied their samyamic attention on the chord of listening to the sound of one hand clapping. Then there is another chord. All chords are, as I told you, paradoxical positioning of impossible reference and referent realities. The other chord is see a form, lifting water from a well that is not dug. In the first chord there was only two paradoxical referent realities, sound and one hand clapping. Here there are multiple sensibilities or sensitivities are to be used. In all the chords there are senses involved, sensations or sensitivities involved, because sensitivities are the properties of the creature. Sensitivity, the power to hear, is not the power given to human beings by any religion or any political, religious, social, economic, business ideologies. It is not given to this organism by any universities. And that experiential world is to be conquered by the same tools by which this language world has been created. Okay? Vision, seeing and hearing especially. So in the first code it was using the sensation of hearing only. Here you have to see a form. That means a human form. I don't know whether there is also a see a man without form. I don't know, I don't remember exactly. Okay. In which case we have the difference of the man with woman possible, or human being, or anyway. See a form lifting water from a well that is not dug. See? And I don't remember the third code. Anyway, I have been talking about the time that may be taken even when you incubate hard to liberate your thought process, your language process, your I think therefore I am, to I experience therefore I am. It's again in the form of a small parable. What you call an aspirant mystic, aspirant Zen monk was meditating on one of these cones, sitting on the topmost rock, positioned on a huge mountain. He was sitting there for 16 years. By that time, a lot of plants and trees grew around him, and around that rock were cherry blossoms. At one moment when he opened, and even after, then he became so disappointed, so desperate, so depressed that he was not able to cut across the boundaries of that sensation, complexity of seeing a form without, a man without form lifting water from a well that is not dug. Because whenever you try to do that, language will interfere. You have to see, I have to see, I have to see. And seeing has its own meanings, its own intentionalities. You have to see. See? The word seeing has been induced into the child with the intentionality of the object being seen and the process of looking at. They cannot work here. Then how will you hold on to the word seeing? Get the point? And the instruction is to see. Or the cone is about that. Or the intent is about an action of seeing. And the intents of all other seeings were of a different domain. Here it will not work because you have to see a man without form. Oh, that is the original code. A man without form. Oh, beautiful. A man without form lifting water from a well that is not dug. Anyway, finally, when he was sitting there, he saw a cherry blossom falling down in his front. His mental process, his thought process at that time took it as a symbol of his absolute failure. And anyway, the main point is that words are nothing but names. Words are nothing but name of mental impressions, and they are just names given to a reference, and every referent has its reality. Because that reality only defines the particular boundary of a given reference. And the second main point I want you to keep in mind is that you too is a reference. For other people and for you. Seeing your form, a form, others quickly recollect your. When others see only your form, they can only see your form, a form. And then they can hear your sound if you talk. And they have in their mind setting some description about you or the name of you. And you can visualize your own entity without form. That's what Patanjali talks about. When that boundaries of the skin are kind of disappear in your awareness, then your awareness get the feeling of the awareness all around, a similar thing existing all around. All around is the correct word. I don't want to say universe and all that. That's all possible, just to try it. And when you try it, as I told you, whether you reach the destination or not is not at all important. Important is the doing that you do, whatever you do, with this intentionality, supported by your firm conviction about the truth that no part of your body has any language, no part of the anatomy or physiology of the process. The process is without any language. It was only a referent reality. That is the guarantee. That referent reality is there. That is guaranteed. Then why it is not sensed? What referent reality? That this awareness or this consciousness, which is apparently set permanently within the boundaries of the existing awareness, is the same, is spread all beyond. For example, one of the convictions. Then the advantages are much that you will just know everything. Just know meaning you will feel that kind of a flight, that kind of a flying above the ground. You will not be trapped by the obstacles and the blocks and the stones and the thorns of the ground reality. Actually, then definitely the socio-cultural reality, that will be already disappeared. All of them will be newspaper news about government offices being inaugurated, that's all. Which makes no change in our sensitivities. If you do not have any business with those departments. You should always search for the intentionality of certain words or certain set of sentences that constantly trap you, put you down, trouble you, defeat you. You see? The so-called mindsets, so-called thought process which is generated by the same entity is trying to put down itself. Put down meaning, what is putting down? What is the referent of put down, being put down? So question all reference first of all. Then it will be like onions. finally it is nothing. Any other points? Any other questions or any other thoughts occur to your mind? Again, you are talking about thoughts. So, are you getting some kind of a visual, some kind of a vague mist of awareness about what we are talking, what we have been talking? Yeah. A misty awareness is there, right? That's all. That's enough. And you will be able to talk about it to somebody else. That's enough. More than enough. Every time try to talk, then you will be forced, like you sit in incubation, you will be forced to conceptualize the sensitivities, the feelings, or the referent realities into words, which will work in reverse. Quick escape from words to referent realities or reference. Both way it will work. Always an advantage. Always, I am very surprised that Mandana was sleeping. You are listening or you are reading something. She happened to see a spider coming. Sorry, spiders coming. Not through her friend or anything, through the dark corners. She is already sitting in a dark corner of the room only. I told her clearly that it was an act of the double that you happened to see that. That's enough. Little advantages, little miracles in our life. What more? What is required, it should happen, that's all right. If you want to do a wonderful project, it has to happen, that's all, very simple. You are in that field. Your life has its own trajectory. So in that trajectory, whatever is required for you, it has to happen. Because every intent has its process. If you have that intent, that process must start. Not necessarily like instant fire upon the water. The speed of it will depend upon various other factors. But it will happen, it has to happen because an intent was formed. I asked you a question. With an intent, a certain process is started. Like the simplest peripheral example of cooking a cup of plain tea, and in between you stop. Or in between you, the person, the doer goes somewhere. Then what happened to the intent? Question number 1. Question number 2, what happened to the process? Okay, a human rational consciousness can decide to stop a process in between. Negotiating with the intent also, if it is required. But in case if you want a process to get initiated for a positive or an outcome which you really desire with all your logical, ethical mind setting, then it has to happen. Otherwise, either there is no intent, because intent is for a process. Process is a doing. That's why I talked about the intent of even an empty word. Even an empty word, EMPTY, every word is empty. Every word is nothing but an assemblage of sounds if it is spoken, an assemblage of letters if it is written or printed. Other than that, words do not have any basic existence anywhere. Only in that conditioned consciousness, memories of sounding, that's all. Certain parts of the brain in charge of nuclear networks formed during learning languages, then that person cannot talk. There won't be any so-called memory. Memory is again a word. What is the referent of the word memory? You have to think like that for every critical word. For every critical word, send the arrow of your attention to identify the referent, and if it is required, go beyond to the realities possible, probable for that referent. Like even a paint manufacturing company is engaged in real reality with this pencil, really. Moments of attention of the designer of this pencil is a reality really engaged with this pencil. Not a philosophy, but a fact. I am just giving examples of the various orbits of realities that can get attached to any referent. With a little profit of 10 paisa, 20 paisa, or 50 paisa of selling one pencil, it goes into the fee of a girl in a remote government school in a village. So reference are processes. So that intent should be for that process. Intent should be very clearly engaged with the output or the goal. So even then it may take some time in case of self-discovery. So I did not complete the parable. Then taking the falling of the cherry blossom as a signal of his failure, he resigned from that intent of getting Satori, and he climbed down the mountain. At the base of the mountain was the monastery of his guru, his monk, master monk. Even without telling him, he just wanted to go away. But on the way, reaching the front of the monastery, he saw the monk almost waiting for him. I think this parable is one of the 5 parables in Harvard Business Review. It is named The Wisdom of the Mountain. There are 5 parables. Parable number 1 is the sound of the forest. Second is something. Third is something. And I think this is the 4th parable, named The Wisdom of the Mountain. But we are looking at it in the Zen way, from the Zen perspective, from the experiential perspective. So the monk just told this hero that the reality is not on the top, but in the ground. And according to the parable, the disciple got instantly Satori. Because he was standing in front of a tree, a real tree with the bark and its leaves and its physical form and state and content. He had a vague recollection that sitting on top of the mountain he saw only the vague silhouettes of the tree. It's almost directly parallel to the topness, the mountain top of the words, which are just names of the vague realities in the ground. Okay, let us say in the case of the tea ceremony or tea you are talking about, output is a cup of tea. If you just keep it on the table, it will get cold within half an hour. And if you keep it there for 1 month, it would become something else. The process is going on. And if you drink it, you know what other processes are ensuing. So nothing is stationary in this universe at all. Not a single thing. When death is not the so-called end, frozen state, process continues. In one setting or another. In one kind of transformation to another kind of transformation. Transformation is the truth of the universe. And when your attention goes to this level of conscious and mental impressions and possible reference and referent realities, there will be definitely transformation in the cerebral cortex itself. It will have its own definite consequences, whether you want it or not. In the beginning, this set of words which you have been listening to or you have been considering, it may look like chords, disconnected. But whether you want it or not, it will be definitely entering into a neuronal process for which there will be geometrical proportion of consequences.
You say cord is disconnected.
Pardon me?
Why did you say cone is disconnected?
I mean the elements, the components in the cone, the elements in the cone are of no correlation. One hand cannot clap. And you have to really listen. That means you have to hear almost the sound generated by one hand clapping. So that way it is disconnected. That's what I said. But there is an invariant consciousness which will get everything connected, where there is nothing disconnected. Because the entire universe is a uniform field of particles. Recently somebody sent me a highly graphical, computer generated visual of an orange being particleized. I think it is a TED talk, I suppose. I don't know whether one among you sent this. So a person is keeping an orange in his hand and it is expanded digitally, And finally there are gaps, so many gaps. An orange is dissipated into its subatomic particles. That is the graphical visual, digital shown. And that is a fact. Okay, that's a truth which we can. The consciousness exists in that gaps. That way, let's say consciousness is able to be conscious about whatever it is conscious about. If there was no separation, there was no mirror-like consciousness, how will you ever know what you are knowing?
It's 23:30.
How will you ever identify whatever you are identifying as it is? Got the question, Swara?
Yes. No.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
What is that which is not understanding what you are not understanding? So that consciousness is at the particle level. Anyway, these are all theoretically, these are all again reported by words only. If you have to speak by word referent linkage, then we have to speak in very low speed. After one word of a sentence, there must be time given to see the referent of that word. Or after saying one sentence, only after seeing the referent and the referent realities of those words in that sentence, then only the next sentence should be delivered. Otherwise it is just getting collected in the language retention center, which will give an illusory feeling that I know, whereby a similar illusory feeling is created and maintained about the very I. Regardless of the direct consciousness of the feelings of the body and this consciousness. Why it is so? It's a terrible puzzle. That is the primary cause. The ultimate cause is within oneself. The self itself is existing like a cone only. How will you hear the sound of every cell of your neurons? Like a little baby is able to see so many things in its environment which it cannot talk about. The energy field of this live organism is directly connected with the energy field of the very planet Earth outside. That is the biggest con. Or when Patanjali says, you can, by your intent, you can materialize objects, okay, that's a con. Because all our logic about material, like a rock, you extend your hand and just keep it there and the rock appears on the palm of your hand. How is it possible? Or, as he first claims, who Patanjali, that with your power of samyamic attention, you can block the light reflected from your body from the observer's eyes. Or they are all big orbits, or by focusing your samyamic attention into the interiors of that abdominal ball, you can know, that's the English word used, you can just know intuitively, like you know things in a dream, you will know every part and parcel of your own body universe. which is very essential, especially for you people living in the very highly polluted and confused, chaotic world of the future. It is going to be a fact, or it is already a fact, that the world is getting dissipated every day. Somehow it is maintained.